We've got a time lapse going of the Loves in Calhoun, Georgia. This is right across the street from Buc-ee's if you're really in the mood for a brisket sandwich. They got it right across the street. I know most of us do not go to Buc-ee's because they won't let trucks in. Anyway, without further ado, it's time to talk about partial fueling. When should you do it and why? The first issue we're going to talk about is cash flow issues. You've just started out or you've just had a big bill at home. You really can't afford for a full tank of fuel to hit this compensation period. So you might want to do a partial fuel so that your tanks have just enough fuel for the run that you're on and maybe to get home, and you'll worry about fueling when you get ready to leave on the next load. My second reason is security. If you're going to be parking your truck at a truck stop for a couple of days off, a week off, you might not want to have full tanks of fuel in your saddlebags when you park the truck. This could also apply to a terminal, but if it does apply to your terminal, you might be working for the wrong company. There is, of course, another solution for this, which is the locking fuel caps. Those are expensive, but they may be necessary if you park your truck a lot. My third reason is a temporary truck. You're in a loaner truck, you just want to put just enough fuel to run each run and still get back to the terminal where you'll get your own truck back, which has your fuel in it. The last thing you want to do is fill up this truck that you're only going to be using for a few days and somebody else gets that fuel. Fuel is expensive. The same would apply if you're getting ready to turn a truck in. Now, of course, good companies will figure out a way to compensate a driver for how much fuel is in the truck versus how much fuel was in the truck when they were issued it. Now it's time to talk about the big reason. The most common reason, the reason that I wind up using partial fuels. If you're in a higher fuel price area and you don't have enough fuel to make it back to a lower price fuel area, then you're going to want to do a partial fuel. You're going to need to calculate and figure out how much fuel you need to get to a lower priced fuel area. Now let's talk about how we calculate how much fuel you need. Okay, you need to know how many miles you're going to be driving, and you need to know what your miles per gallon is. You know that display you've got on your dashboard that says how many miles per gallon you're getting? It doesn't mean anything, just ignore it. The two ways to know the fuel mileage of your truck, there's one, your IFTA reporting. You can calculate how many gallons of fuel you purchased, how many miles you drove. Simply do the math, and you'll know what your miles per gallon is. And that's good because it's based over a month or even over 3 months. The second method is to fill your tanks all the way full. I prefer to do that on every fill up if I could, but I can't always do it. Then divide by the number of miles driven. I use an app for it. I use an app called Let's Truck. It's a free app. You can find it on the Google Play Store or on the iOS Store. They don't know me from Adam. It's not an affiliate link. Now, whether you're using paper or using this app, you record some basic information. Your odometer reading, number of gallons you put in. I like to put the price per gallon in so that it'll calculate the total cost. I also put where I bought the fuel and what chain it was. And there's a place to click whether it's a partial or full fill up. And now when I look at the app, I can see that my 90-day average is 8 miles to the gallon, and it's cost me 50 cents per mile to drive the truck for fuel. If you look down at previous fill-ups, you'll see the lowest was 7.56 per gallon, and the highest was 9.23 miles per gallon. I can tell you from personal experience, the E does not stand for enough. When I looked at my fuel gauge, I did not have enough fuel, I believe, to make it back to Georgia. Further, in my truck, I can't use the auto start feature if my fuel light is on. And I really like air conditioning. Whatever fuel program or fuel card you use will have an app. And you'll use that app to look the entire length of your trip for the least expensive fuel. And maybe the next trip too, if you know what that's going to be. So I used the app, I took a look, and I used our company card, and I saw that the fuel price in Lake City, Florida, even though it was 86 cents off the pump price, was still $4.22 and 6/10 cents. That's kind of expensive fuel at that time. Didn't know it was going to get more expensive now, did we? Madison, Georgia, where I was going, was $3.88 and 1/10 of a cent, which was $1.07 savings. So I did a quick calculation, figured out how far I was going to be going, and how much fuel I thought I would need. It's about 270 miles to make that trip. I'm getting 8 miles to the gallon. So I needed to put at least 34 gallons in. I went ahead and put almost 40 in, 39.313, just so that I would make sure that I had a little extra in case it was a heavy load, in case there was some delays. Fuel prices are just like the weather. They are subject to change. Fortunately, I had run a check again to see what the cheapest fuel along my route was, because there was a small Love's that I happened to pass in Thomason, Georgia, that was $3.78 and 4/10. So I definitely filled up there. I got 185 gallons of fuel there. Okay, how much did that really save me? A friend of mine likes to say, was the juice worth the squeeze? Well, let's take a look at it. $4.22 and 6/10 minus $3.78 and 4/10 is 44 and 2/10 times 185 gallons. That's an $81.77 savings. In 34 fill-ups, the average price that I have paid for fuel is $4.03. Average savings that I've had per gallon is 79.2 cents, and that saved me $2,643. It's important to know your costs at all times for operating your vehicle. In my case, it's 50 cents per mile for fuel, which is my largest variable expense. My variable lease is 43 cents per mile. That's a full maintenance lease, plus 8 cents per mile in my fixed costs per week. That's my insurances and things like that. So my total expense to drive the truck is $1.01 per mile. I get $1.25 per mile, and I get a fuel surcharge and a market surcharge. But we're going to save all those other fun things and calculations for another video. This video is about when you should do a partial fuel and how you should calculate to know what your MPG is. Again, I have a link down below to Let's Truck in the iOS store. I don't know how you find it in the Google store because I've never been on the Google Play Store. Can you tell I'm not an Android man? But anyway, I hope this has been helpful. I hope you learned something. Liking the video, sharing the video, or subscribing to the channel, it's free. It doesn't cost you anything. And I appreciate it. And be sure that you're enjoying every day at work.